Hey everybody, what's happening? I've told myself I'm going to be a little less verbose, that I'm going to have brevity. I don't know if I could do that, but I'm going to try. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Jameson Nathan Jones, who's that? Well, that's a YouTube. It's a YouTuber, it's a composer, and it's a guy you should be checking out. Why am I recommending Jameson Nathan Jones? Well, because I like his output. I didn't say content, I said output. I like his output. I think this is a well-reasoned, thoughtful person. We don't get a lot of that. I see balance there. I see an ability to see many different points of view. I see curiosity. I see a dedication to craft. I see taking it seriously. So I like him. I sent him a note actually because I was so pleased. Liked what he did and he got back. Nice guy. Sounds like he's a great guy. One of the reasons, or maybe the main reason that I like this guy, and I think there's a reason to mention it, is there is a danger for everybody to get caught in an echo chamber, right? And so if you have integrity, you are trying at all times, you're checking yourself. You're trying to make sure I'm not straying and gone off right? You don't want to do that. So you're always trying to make sure, okay, I'm staying where I think I'm supposed to be staying in a world where I think my conclusions can be reasonably relied upon 2/3 of the time. It's about as good as you do in the predicting business. But if you feel like for the most part you're okay, right? That's a good thing. Now, in the case of a guy like Jones, I run into Jones, and this is a great vindication. It makes you feel pretty good because it's one thing to find people who think like you, but it's a different thing entirely when they come from an entirely different background. Jameson Nathan Jones is from, I believe, Mississippi, maybe Louisiana, but I thought it was Mississippi. But he's from the deep South, classical background as a pianist and composer, and then got into synthesis and other things. Okay, I'm from Maine and lived in New York. He's again classical piano. I'm jazz and trumpet. So our influences and our way of looking at everything musically, we come from very, very different worlds. And yet, as time has gone by, we're in now similar places and we see things very similarly. It's one thing if it's just another bunch of people who come out of the same background as you. Oh, okay. When someone doesn't, and you're all reaching the same conclusions, that gives me much greater confidence in those conclusions that I have reached. It's not just somebody else. It's not echo chamber. It's somebody from a whole other thing. And they're seeing it too. So you sit there and go, okay, I'm not alone. It's not just me. There's something to this. Oh, that's always good news, right? That's a good thing. So I encourage you to check out Jameson Nathan Jones, who has plenty of subscribers. Interesting guy, bright stuff. Anyway, you saw the title here. Okay. There's a plenty of meat on this particular bone. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. I'm going to start with how we kind of got here. You know, we and I mean that in the state of the culture, and the state of certainly the state of where music is at, and a whole bunch of things have sort of highlighted some of my observations about this recently that made it just much more obvious. Let's start with things that have not been going great for a long time. One is, I see a lot of musicians who talk about they think of music as business, and I think they're lost in the wilderness on that. And it's a thing nobody wants to say. So it's time to say it. Business Do I think we need to have a sense of business? Yes. Do I need to have a business hat? Yes. Do I need to know how to work with business people? Yes. Do I need to know how to read a contract? Yes. All that stuff. You can even enjoy it. But deep down, not only are we not business people, we have to be very careful of business because it is not our friend and will never be our friend and cannot be our friend. If we're in the world of art, which is not a dirty word, if we're in the world of doing something that we think will matter, if we're in the world of not pandering, if we think there's a place, any place, for someone to say what they have to say without a commercial component and without commercial pressures, or a very, extraordinarily small percentage of that. If that's important on any level, and I think it's desperately important these days, then the business world can't be your friend. Look, since the late 80s, business has been we've suddenly decided that business was the greatest thing you could do. The only thing that mattered was business. The CNBC-ification of American culture. But that's gone on for a long time. The only thing that matters is the money. The only thing that matters is how much of it you've got. Business's only reason to do anything, anything, is for the profit. That there is no moral component, no ethical component whatsoever. That to do that, to have that, shows that you're not dedicated enough to making the money and maximizing shareholder profits. Therefore, everybody should be screwed. If you're not screwing other people, then you just don't want it enough. That's it. There couldn't be something more antithetical to the arts and humanities than that mindset. And that mindset can't stand you for not being them. You're never going to be their friend, really. They'll always be convinced there's something wrong there by virtue of any involvement in the arts, period. I hate to burst people's bubble on this one. And it's not to say you can't make money or that you can't do commercial projects. It's perfectly fine. No problem with it whatsoever. But you could work with people, you could do business with people that sure as shit don't trust them. Got to be smarter than that. And you have to think through what they're all about. And it shouldn't be that hard since they say it. It's pretty out in the open. Let's keep going down this road, but let's just put that aside. That is, and increasingly has become, the atmosphere in which we live in. The only value there can be is a monetary value. There can't be any other kind of value. All right, let's start talking about other cultural trends. All of our social media, virtually, I would guess, yeah. Social media and all the net and all of that, how we stay connected socially, right? It was created by the most unsocial people that ever came down the block, and it's Silicon Valley and the tech bros. Also not fans of art. In fact, probably resentful of it. Why would I say that? People have said we live in a new Gilded Age, right? That this is like the 1880s, early into the 20th century, and the Hearst papers, the incredible wealth disparity, and we are experiencing that again, right? There's a thing, though. There's one major difference. The people with unbelievable money at that time were enormously philanthropic, and enormously philanthropic towards the arts. Concert halls were built, symphonies established, money rained down, because that crowd of rich people, despite their enormous ego, sit there and said, there's a higher calling. What's the difference between that world? And look, go to many, many cities across the United States, and you're going to find these old concert halls, all endowed. I mean, it is Carnegie Hall. You know, those people put unbelievable money into cities, into public life, things that they, in fact, believed in. Do today's billionaires do that? Some. There are rich people who give money. It's nothing like that what it was. Today's tech bro isn't crazy about the arts because it's not a good enough business and doesn't extract enough money. Because the only thing that matters is that. Think about, for very, very bright people, think about how unbelievably shallow that is. That the only value is a monetary value. I know there's a lot of folks that say, well, if you can't measure it, then it doesn't exist. Well, I'm to some degree, I'm a good man of science. I believe in the graphable and the measurable and in actual evidence. But there are things that we know exist. There are cultural forces, all sorts of things of that nature, that really can't be measured with any great accuracy. I'm sure there's the happiness index. I mean, there's been attempts, and I'm sure there's somebody out there who's some academic someplace who has come up with a method by which we measure the cultural force of various, okay. But that's certainly not well recognized or well understood. So I am willing to, I will present my case. I think you really can't measure the degree to which music affects a culture. Theater, live performances, the arts affect things. But there's no doubt that when it's not there, we're not in very good shape and we're not terribly nice to each other. The arts actually have a pivotal effect on people if it's widespread. It makes people have more empathy. Everything doesn't turn into a zero-sum game. It makes us think, makes us read, makes us contemplate, makes us slow down, makes us get involved in philosophy. But you get rid of all that. Well, it's not all gone, Dave. I'll give you a dumb example. Behind me, CDs. Right? Are we better off? Is the culture better off with streaming? All the music in the world is available to anybody who wants to set up a free account on Spotify or whatever. Or you can get a subscription. You can listen to anything. It's all on your phone. I don't think that's better. Look, there was a time when you got a thing. You got a thing. You bought a record, which meant to have the money, to decide. There were a lot of records to get, and you could only get if you had to really decide, that's the one, and I'm going to get the record. And, on the back of the record, you read things. There was reading. So that you knew something about what it was you were going to listen to. You had breakdowns of each of the pieces. You knew who everybody was that played on it. Because this was a work of art. You got a thing and you kept it. And proof that you kept it would be like, this was my dad's. This is a vintage record. He kept it his whole life. And now I've got it. And I won't get rid of it because it has, not monetary, it has emotional value. It has artistic value. And that's a good thing. Right? That's great. Now, we moved on to CDs, right? And, now you still got a thing, but you got a smaller thing. And you still got a thing, but it was smaller. But now you don't get anything. But you get it all, Dave. Value is connected to something scarcity. I shouldn't need to tell that to the economic crowd, right? So when it's all available for free, then you've devalued it. Tech brodom killed the music industry. There's another element to this. Every town had a store where you could go get these. Go in, there was music playing, a lot of posters on the wall. You had a direct connection to all of it. Other people were there too. It wasn't just you're clicking something, you're having a social interaction. All of that has been removed and gone. Do you think that's good? Do you think that puts us in a better place? Recently, I had an interesting experience. A few years back, my mom moved down here. I'm in New York. She was in Maine. She moved down here. And Mom is 86 at this point. And Mom said, I've never been to the opera. I said, you should go. It's absolutely fantastic. Oh, I don't know, Dave. I can't go. Oh, no. You should go. We'll get some tickets and we'll go. And you should see one of the old war horses. If you've never done it, you're not going to start with, let's watch the most avant-garde thing. No. Go see, Tosca or Carmen or, go do Italian opera at the Met. Spectacular. You should do it. So they go, oh, okay, I think let's do it. Great. So I told my son I was going to do this. He was 15 at the time. He said, I want to go. I said, you're going to hate it. It's 4 hours. You're going to fall asleep. This is not designed for your generation. No, I want to go. Fair. So we got it, 3 of us, and we went to see La Boheme. And it was fantastic. And my mom was blown away. But surprisingly, so was my son. So he said, let's go next year. So we did. Last year, we saw Rigoletto. Great. It was also okay. This year, we couldn't find one. Usually we do it in the fall. I couldn't really find one. And I was talking to one of Beckett's besties, young lady that he's known since preschool. Great kid. She said, you guys, I heard you going to the opera. I said, yeah, we're going to pick the right one. She goes, I want to go. I said, you're invited. Because she's a great kid. We think the world of this kid. So we're like, yeah, come on. So we picked Turandot, Puccini. And we just went and saw it last week. So this young lady, to her credit, says, well, if I'm going to the opera, I'm getting dressed up. Excellent. So my son says, she's going dressed up. I'm putting on a suit. Well, I'm not going to be. Me too. My mom says, I'm getting dressed. So now we're all getting dressed up and going to see Turandot. So we go and we see Turandot, got good tickets, just above Grand Tier, just above. A little off center, but really. The tenor was insane. And it's Turandot. I mean, how can you go on? Nessun Dorma. Oh my God. Be still, my beating heart. Fun, though, to watch someone who's never checked it out before. That world exists. It's still out there, thank God. But it doesn't touch as many people. Now the young lady came along with us. This is a very bright person. She's seriously bright young lady, very well brought up, etc. But she found it, she loved it, and was like, what a thing, and oh my God, okay. But one of the things she found revelatory was the singers are not mic'd. Now, those of us who know opera would go, okay, of course the singers aren't mic'd. That's news for a whole generation. Live orchestra, right? We're going to go on and really do it. We're going to do Puccini with the voices, with the cast, with the sets, with the orchestra, and live, and you get what you get, and live performance. Not packaged, not backing tracks. I mean, the real thing. The real thing is revelatory for younger folks. They never bump into it. Everything is fake. So watching that reaction was nothing short of fascinating. So, yeah, I think we've devalued music. I think we've come to a point where, because if we can't measure it in purely financial terms, therefore it doesn't exist. And again, we're missing it. It's amazing how shallow that thinking is. And the idea that the only thing that matters is if it's got a dollar sign next to it. So connecting to musicians out there, I will postulate this. I've been around long enough to know that nothing lasts forever. No philosophy, nothing. And the pendulum does swing. And people love to use the word unsustainable, right? That a particular idea is unsustainable. We're going to hit a point, and I don't know when it's going to come exactly. I'm not making a prediction regarding that, but the idea that the only thing that can matter is dollars and cents. Someone is going to push back against that. Probably younger people, because they're not getting the benefit of it. Right? We're at a time economically where young Americans can't get homes, and right, the American dream is not open to them. On one level, it'll make them want the money more. But I think another reaction to that may be, look, there'll be a counter reaction, and it's already starting to happen, against money is the only thing that matters, but also against the fact that we feel manipulated by social media. So there's already a sense that this going down this path, there isn't any more, there's nothing left to plumb. We've plumbed the depths. There's nothing left to be had from going in this direction. Another direction will be, and it'll happen. And when it happens, I expect it'll happen quickly. And I think artistic ideas, the idea is that there are other things of value besides only dollars and cents. That we need to think more about our ethics, that we need to think more about. I think we're coming to a point, and it's going to happen. I would guess it could be 4 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 8, but it's coming. And you could see it all across the culture. You could see it in our politics. You know, an enormous amount of people who want to hold on to, and will go to any extent to hold on to whatever they think it's supposed to be. And I don't think that's going to survive. It can't survive. And so the world will something major is going to happen if we don't turn into a dictatorship, and I don't think we will. Then it's if it starts going the other way and going the other way strongly, and I think there's a real chance of that. The right could collapse in this country, and a lot of the ideas that they hold will go with them. And when it does collapse, I think it'll collapse quickly. And being a defender of art will actually have been on being on the right side of history. I think some things just don't go away. I don't want to say they're eternal, but they're part of the human condition, and I think that artistic element is that part of culture. I think that will make a degree of a comeback. It could very well. It'll go in very different directions. I'm not saying, we're all gonna, we're not gonna revisit, some past art and now do that again. No, we'll go in some new direction. And we should, right? The idea of staying put by itself is, doesn't work. You adapt or die. You got to keep changing. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But that's what I see. That's what I sense. I do feel we're coming to a point where it could be quite dramatic. If you're not following politics, you ought to be. I'll just say that much about it. It's going to get very nasty. I have a feeling it's going to get very, very, very nasty. And people on the left better be willing to fight and to fight hard, because they're going to be. If they don't, they lose, because the other side is taking no prisoners. There's no thing they won't do. So people on the left better be ready for that. I think they may be. I think they may be approaching that. So we'll see how all that plays out. But these things are interrelated, and I do think. Listen, I think there's value to art, and I think there's value. I think the value is, again, we just can't seem to measure it. Doesn't mean there isn't a value, but because we can't measure, therefore we dismiss it. Mistake. It's wrong. There's so much to be gleaned from just a higher standard. We need to be reading more, and we need to be listening more, and we're not, obviously. But those of us who are trying to defend all that, or maybe instead of defending it, maybe say, okay, that was a thing and it's a lost cause, but now trying to promote it once again, maybe that's a better way of looking at it. I don't think we're in the wrong. I don't think we're on the. I think we're gonna eventually be on the right side of things. But that's what I've got for you guys. So yeah, think about. I think let me know what you think. Give me a comment. If you want to give me a sub, you want to give me a thumbs up. Obviously, that's how this works. So I can use that. I should also mention something else too. I think it's important to be clear that, one of the worst things that ever happened with the internet was that whole idea that, you could hide behind a fake name and, an avatar, and that didn't work. That was really dumb. And we should have recognized what a bad idea that was at the time, because it opened up the floodgates to it's why we have trolls. We wouldn't have had trolls. So, put your name out there. It's okay if you make mistakes. It's all right. But be real. And then there's a chance to at least have a conversation. Especially in a spirit of, we are going to be real. We are going to be as open as possible. Look, if you met me we were to meet in the real world, I wouldn't be anything like this, right? I uh, look. I look at all of this as being essentially public speaking, right? We're not. You're a lot of people who are going to see this are not friends of mine, or people I even know. This is a chance to slightly higher level here, be a little more serious, try to think things through. If you met me in person, you'd find I'm a much more naturally, I would think, much more loose and much more, But here is a chance to chat and to get into the real heavy stuff. So that's what I've got for you right now. Check out Jameson Nathan Jones. Definitely keep an eye on your politics, for sure. And think about that value. And how badly are we missing it? Because we are seeming to be in a much more culturally poor place. And there's a very easy reason why. We got rid of it all. We excised it from the culture. It's crazy. And I don't think that's the normal state of things. I think the normal state of things will return. I think art and culture will make a comeback. And that money at all costs, that ain't the future. We shall see. Talk to you guys in a week or two or whatever it's going to be.